Reminder to, reminder to everyone, we'll be recording today's session. Welcome to our July Quorum Speaker Series. I'm Diane Silverman. I'm Executive Director of Quorum, and I'm beyond thrilled that today's session is finally taking place. There are always people that when I speak to and they have suggestions, know that I really need to listen. And when Quorum member Willow Darcy said, "Hey, I have somebody that you need to meet," I listened, fortunately, and that's why today's session is taking place. So thank you, Willow, and welcome, Kelly. Just a quick reminder, as I said, we'll be recording today. If you have any questions, drop them into the chat section, and Willow will be monitoring those for Kelly. And unless you're speaking, please be sure to mute yourselves. And right now, I'm going to turn this over to Willow Darcy to introduce our speaker today. So thank you, Willow, and thank you again, Kelly.
Great. Well, hi, everyone. Welcome. I am so excited that Kelly is joining Quorum today so we can hear her insights on what makes women leaders challenges unique to this time and unique to women. This research and the focus of Kelly's day-to-day work dovetail perfectly with Quorum's mission of empowering executive women, and Kelly herself is an entrepreneur and a leader to contend with. I personally have had the good fortune to work with Kelly for many years in various organizations and efforts I've led. Kelly is smart, curious, kind, mission-driven, and highly networked with clients, partners, and allies across many sectors. She's a leadership development specialist with deep and broad experience in the field of professional development. She helps people build skills in self-identified areas such as aligning teams, shifting autonomy to others, coaching direct reports, and charting a path through change, which we can all relate to, I know. Kelly's a graduate of Georgetown University's prestigious leadership coaching program with a master's in positive organizational development. She is dedicated to helping visionary leaders, like all of you in this wonderful Quorum group, in our mission-driven organizations to deepen the way we lead, increase our time for strategic thinking, and inspire our teams to achieve greater impact. Over to you, Kelly.
Wonderful. Thank you, Willow. I really appreciate that introduction. And I am so excited to be with you all today and share some of the research that I have been doing recently. I'm excited to share this because we are experiencing such a tremendous amount of change and uncertainty in the past 6 to 9 months. And women and men are all experiencing this change, yet I have noticed in the past that women often interpret and experience change differently than men. And I was curious to find out how women were experiencing change differently this time in these times of uncertainty. And so with my leadership coach hat kind of to the side, but still on, I also donned a research hat and talked to men and women leaders about what they were seeing and how they were experiencing it, and then what was different about how women were. So I'm going to share that with you today and share 3 tools to help you manage that change should that resonate with you. So that's my intention for today. As always, I love to hear from you, so we're going to start off right off the bat with that. And I'd ask you to just drop in the chat your answers to these questions, and somehow my advanced slides are not working. That's odd. Let me stop the share and start it again. All right. And it worked this time. Okay, great. So if you could drop in the chat your answers to these questions. What was your first job? And what did that job teach you about leadership? What did you learn at that, assumedly early age about effective leadership? And then how do you still use that lesson today? Whether it's years or decades later, how is that lesson still showing up today? Give you a moment to drop that in the chat. Fashion beauty editor. What a great first job. Using my voice. Yes. Running your practice now. Yes. Love that. Assistant account executive. Embrace all that you can. Stretch to achieve. Absolutely. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. And yeah, I think stretching to achieve is one of the through lines that we'll see in these themes today. So please go ahead and Meg, making documentaries for TV taught me to document everything I was doing. Stay organized, think out of the box. Yes. Counselor at a camp for special needs. Oh, me too. I was a camp counselor very early on. Patience, meeting people where they are, not imposing my expectations. Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. I can see where that would lead directly to a career in practicing law. Nice. So my point here is that, we learn these skills early on, and sometimes when we are in the tumult of change, it can be helpful to reach back to those earliest skills and observations that we had in our career, because that is a steady touchstone on which we can ground ourselves. So that is, that is another way to use that wisdom that you gained so long ago. So thank you for sharing a little bit about you. Oh, and then we went to see Willow's researcher at a consulting firm. Yes. Learn from people working around me. Oh, yes. Yes. Gathering advice from others. It's the easiest way, isn't it? So here's a little bit about me beyond the bio that Willow so generously described in terms of my role and what you can expect from me today. So that's me at the end of the line there, figuratively speaking. It's not actually me, but my role today is not to lead you to your answers and your solutions. Rather, I am here at the back supporting you. I am here to carry some tools and share them with you. I'm here to offer some perspectives or new paths you might consider, and providing you some options. I cannot direct or give you answers definitively to anything, right? I don't know you. I don't know your background and your organizations. So your job is to absorb what I present today and then choose what fits you best and modify it to fit whatever mountain you are currently climbing. So you will be in the lead today. So that is my role. Quick preview of what to expect in terms of our content. Here we are already at the opening and agenda review. I'll give you some insight into the research that I found in terms of where leaders are now and where they want to be. And then we'll get into the 3 tools to help you get to where you want to be. And then we'll close. So that's our agenda. So let's dive straight in. So This research that I conducted, I talked to over 40 leaders, men and women, from January to March of this year, because I had noticed that leaders were struggling to make an impact. These were highly effective leaders who were dedicated to their mission, committed to supporting their teams, but they were still struggling. They didn't they weren't making the kind of change and impact that they so wanted to make. And I wanted to understand why. What was it about this particular season of change that was so difficult? And so I conducted, again, these 40 plus interviews across all three sectors, private, public, and nonprofit, men and women, all leaders, and asked them the same set of qualitative questions. And after I got all of their answers, after I completed all of the interviews, I went through all of that data and I pulled out some common themes across genders. And this is what I found men and women see now in their teams during this time of change. They see their teams and themselves experiencing a huge amount of confusion and ambiguity, right? Not surprising, but that change is, causing this confusion to occur. There was a lot of reactivity and firefighting within their teams and, again, with themselves, which, of course, was leading to exhaustion and burnout. That was another huge theme. And there was also these isolated and siloed achievements that were happening within their teams that was very, worrisome to these leaders, because we know how teams can break apart if they start to become too siloed. And a mindset of scarcity and resistance to the change that, again, can lead to burnout. So that's what men and women were seeing. And then I thought, then I wanted to know, well, again, how are women seeing this change differently? What are they seeing in their teams? And this is what I found, that women uniquely, they were seeing confusion and ambiguity, just like men and women. But look how isolated and siloed achievements rose to the top, as did scarcity mindset and resistance. And again, exhaustion and burnout were still in the top 5, but I was very curious about how these three, particularly the first two, numbers 2 and 3, siloed achievements and scarcity mindset, really rose to the top by quite a bit, in fact. They rose up and were twice as likely to be seen by women than they were by men. And I found this fascinating. And, as I share it with you today, I'll share my theory of why women are seeing these 3 themes twice as often as men are. But I would be curious to hear your theory as well. I mean, my theory is that, in my experience coaching women and being a woman, women tend to see and experience pain and difficulty at a deeper level than men in general. Certainly not across the board, but that women don't just see the surface level effects, which is what reactivity and firefighting, as well as exhaustion and burnout, that's kind of what's happening at the surface. But if you dig under those two, I think you find isolation, silos, and scarcity mindset. And so I think women were perhaps better able to see that, because we are more attuned to that. So that is just my theory, just my interpretation. I'd love for you all to come off mute and share, what's your theory? Why does the data sort out this?
Well, I guess this is Tara. One of my questions, and I wish I had an answer, but one of my questions is, do, do you see this as remarkably different now than 2 years ago, for instance? Because I feel that it is, but the environment we're in right now is so fraught, that I live outside of Washington, D.C. So like we eat, live, breathe everything that's going on right now. So a bit of a bubble in that regard, maybe. So maybe in other locations it's not quite as intense. And I wonder whether part of the reason, not necessarily for why women leaders see these in a different order, but why isolated and siloed achievements, scarcity mindset, resistance, reactivity, firefight. To me, it's kind of the environment we're in today. Like it's a zero-sum game environment. And so I feel like that's different today than it was a couple of years. And that's been building, but that this sort of fear, I think it's based in fear. A lot of it means that people in the workforce are scared and they're figuring, if I don't make it, if it's got to be me doing it, not team, not collaboration. It's got to be me, because otherwise, it's that kind of gladiator in the arena type of environment, that at least that's what I feel. I don't have any empirical data.
Yes. I think it is greater than, say, 2 years ago, right? And that's what led me to do this research. Like, I can theorize why, but I want to understand more of how is it showing up? How is it impacting teams? Yes. And yeah, Janet, I like your comment there in the chat that burnout and exhaustion show up lower because women are more resilient. I would agree with that.
I've always found that the best leaders that I've ever seen are those that lead with emotion and vulnerability, and kind of in a willingness to show up as a human being, and I think women often do that better than men. They're more willing to sort of show who they are when they feel safe that they can do that, and so because of that, they probably offer a bigger space for the people around them to emote as well. You know what I mean? It gives them the availability, the openness, to, you know, uh, to have all of these feelings and emotions, and so I think women are more apt to see them and discuss them versus rather than just let it be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I really like that point, Meg, that women create that space where it's perhaps easier for their team to express themselves, and therefore the team expresses themselves in terms of, hey, I've got a scarcity mindset, right? Like, I don't think we have enough, we do enough, we'll be enough.
I'm terrified, I don't know what's going to happen next. Yeah, whatever. That there's an openness to, so they're going to be more attuned to seeing it, than someone who doesn't lead that way,
Yes.
And this is Jane. I'd like to piggyback on Janet's comment that I think it's more natural, or has been more natural, perhaps that's changing, for women to have to multitask and split themselves between the work mindset and the family mindset. And at the end of the day, they're very much just used to, okay, I'm exhausted, but I just have to figure out a way to do it, and might be more willing to reach out to other people to help, where men historically, I think, have been less able or willing to say, I need help.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I think that's a very good point. And it's interesting, right? So they reach out more often, which probably helps them. I'm sure it does. It always helps when we reach out and ask for help. Yet it brings our needs into the spotlight, right? Which can sometimes have negative effects. All right, so that's what women see in their teams, and so then I asked them, well, what is it that you what you want to be, what do you want to have? So this column is just a copy of the previous slide, what they see now in their teams, but what they want to have in their teams is this, right? Like moving from confusion to clarity, moving from isolation and silos to collaboration and shared vision, from scarcity to openness, from exhaustion to energized, and reactivity to proactivity. And these are not only what they want to have in their teams, simply for having healthier teams, but they also believe these are the tools and the mindsets that will power them through this change, that will guide them through the tumult and the uncertainty that we are experiencing now. So my question to each of you is this what you want? Right? If you were to make a list of what you want to support yourself and your teams through these times, would this be your list, or would it be something a little different?
I think there's something interesting about this time about risk taking. And so, as a leader, wanting my team to, so I'm not sure if I don't think that's mutually exclusive from the five that are there, but that's another element to kind of a shared willingness.
Mm. Willow, you're cutting out a little bit, but
And to be brave.
yeah. Sorry, Willow, you cut out a little bit, but I think what I picked up is willingness to take risk. And yes, I completely agree. And I would argue that, and maybe this is what you said when you cut out, is that these five elements help you take risks, support you to take risks. Right. Okay. What others? Does this list look like yours? Is this what you would want? Is this what you're looking for now?
Yeah, to me, this looks like a pretty comprehensive, bucket of the types of environmental factors for success, right? Because innovation, experimentation, teamwork, right? Supporting each other, and being strategic and working intentionally, with intention forward. I mean, yeah, that looks like what an effective leader would want to have in their worlds. Yep.
Good. Good. So we're going to focus on those first three themes, and I'm going to provide a tool for each of those to help you deepen that feeling in your teams. So these are the three themes, and the tools that I'm going to share are here on the left. So you might recognize some of these, but let's begin with the first one. So if we want to increase our sense of clarity and confidence, we can do something called getting on the balcony. And getting on the balcony is a mindset that was first described by Ronald Hafitz from Harvard Business School back in the late 90s as a way for leaders to occasionally remove themselves from the emotional fray that's going on in their teams down on the stage and move up onto the balcony where they can have a wider perspective, a bit of emotional remove, and the ability to strategically look ahead to how the people, the characters, could shift their behavior so as to get a better outcome. So this idea of getting up on the balcony is a way, and I'm sure all of you do this in some format already, but it's that pulling back, right? Taking a breath, getting some remove from what's happening, and being able to look somewhat objectively, but still connected, right? Just like when we go to the theater, yes, we are objectively watching what's on the stage, but how many of us, still feel it in our chests, right? When we're watching a good play. So he went on to say, yes, leaders should go up on the balcony occasionally to get that view, but then also remember to come back down to the stage, right? Because down on the stage is where you feel how your team is feeling, where you hear what your team is saying, and where you are doing alongside your team as they are doing. So it's creating that agility to move back and forth from the stage to the balcony. So that's what getting on the balcony means. What I would love to hear from you all is when do you already do this, right? When do you go OTB? When do you wish you would do it more often? What would be helpful? And then what helps pull you up to the balcony? Because that's not necessarily an easy move, right? It's sometimes a bit challenging to do. And when you go up there, how does that increase your clarity and confidence? What happens there? So I'd like you to just jot down in the chat your answers to these questions. I was going to put you into breakouts, but I think in the interest of time, well, you can put it in the chat or you can just say it, whichever is easier for you. If you prefer just to speak, I always like to hear voices.
Kelly, this is Jane. Not directly answering your questions, but a question for you.
Yes.
Do you think it would be as helpful, for lack of a better term, to have your employees get up on the balcony with you so they can see what you see, and if they can't, then to help them see that?
Absolutely. Yes. You have just described like the ideal strategic planning meeting, right? Like if you and your team, right? If anyone in their team could all be up on the balcony during a strategic planning meeting and not be, down on the stage defending their territory, remembering their grievances and grudges, and, like getting away from all of that. Yes. And so helping your team, and I would do that is important. And I would be very explicit about it. Say like, hey, there's this idea called going on the balcony, right? Here's what it means. How does that strike you? Would you like to do that? And then bring them up, because frankly, it's a lot more peaceful on the balcony. It can be much more relaxing. Now it's more energy giving to be down on the stage. So we do, again, want to remember to go back to the stage occasionally, right? But yes, excellent question.
You know, Kelly, this is more of like an observation probably, but it feels like today is very much like what we were experiencing or how we needed to lead when COVID hit. Because it was so complicated and scary and a lot of personal things were happening to people, which is also what's going on now, you know, where there's scary personal things that beyond the normal life, you know, craziness that everybody experiences. It was like an added level of fear created. It's kind of happening now. So it almost is like a similar cycle. And I always found during that time, the couple things that were most important was to give space for a place where everybody could understand where the other person was sitting in the world, you know, as a team, you know, a moment where people could, you know, give you a temperature read as to where they're currently at in that moment so that others could experience a little more empathy and potentially compassion towards each other, you know. And then after you give space to that, then was the time to get to work and figure out how you were going to get through whatever was going on or whatever you were trying to achieve or however you, and it feels so much like right now is quite similar actually, because there's just all this crazy fear-based activity going on. And so it has a very similar, it sort of almost reflects that period for very different reasons, obviously. But anyway, it's what
Yeah.
made me think about as you were talking through, you know, this.
It's a great point. And yes, empathy is incredibly important, especially if we are feeling isolation and siloed. And if we are down on the stage for too long, we can only see the people like immediately around us, right? If someone is, what do they call it? Upstage and downstage, left
Yeah,
stage,
yeah, yeah.
theater
Yeah,
was
no,
a
that's
long
right.
time ago for me.
It's very tunnel vision. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't actually see those other players on the stage. But if we're in the balcony, we can see every player.
Yeah.
Great point.
Kelly, it's Jane again. Another question for you. Do you think there's any correlation between how people are feeling now with respect to remote versus in-office presence?
Mm. In terms of
Feeling siloed and isolated and not connected and frustrated and
yes,
I mean, it's hard to single out because I think they're all very much interrelated.
yes, yes. Because the the bittersweet victory of COVID was that we were able to learn how to do our work without others around us. Great. But we learned how to do our work without others around us, which is terrible, right? And so we can get by, but I think it leads to that exhaustion and burnout. Humans are social creatures. We must have some kind of social interaction, and that can happen at work. Again, and I think that's critical. So I'm a big believer in hybrid, heavy on the in-office, right?
Yeah. And to Jane's point, I actually I'm the epitome of hybrid. I am bi-coastal, so I work in New York and California, so I go back and forth, which is why my camera's not on now because I just got back last night, really late. But I think it's also a lack of clarity when you're working on a project like that. I often find that, you know, going on the balcony, as you would say, is helpful to reset objectives and step back and say, what are we trying to achieve? And are we doing it? And is everybody marching to the same drummer? Are we satisfied with what we're doing? Is it worthwhile and productive? I think it's really important to set goals like that in the very beginning of a project so people are clear on where they have to go. And then step back periodically, make sure there's a work-life balance, and make sure that people are clear about what they're achieving.
Absolutely, right? It's the role of the director, right? Who sits out there in the audience, right? The director's usually not on stage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Great. All right.
And there's
Oh, Willow, you're on mute. Is that you, Willow, talking?
Sorry about that. Sure. Just wanted to bring in a comment from the chat that mirrored a bit of what Janet was just saying, but Elizabeth is sharing that she gets on the balcony at intervals when she's doing long-term planning or when there's a sense that a dynamic is off and it's necessary to step back.
Yes. Yes. Love that. Those are two ideal times to go up on the balcony. Great. All right. You ready for the next tool? This one I call it the magical delegation question. And to introduce this idea, I'm going to play a short video. And this video is a little story. It's just 1.5 minutes long. It is a young couple. They have just moved in together. They are trying to figure out how to get all of those household chores done, right? And there's something mysterious that has been happening in their home, and this is what it is. So we are joining them when they are getting ready to make dinner. And they have Aussie accents, so I'm going to keep the captions on so you can understand what they're saying. Here we go.
You said you were going to make dinner? I can remember. What? I just wish you'd take some initiative and cook your own dinner for once. I've been able to do, and now I get to come home and pack the dishwasher and then unpack the dishwasher and cook dinner and put the washing on. And you know what? I can't continue to live like this. Hey, relax. It's going to be all right. How? Here, I'll just show you. Okay, I've been doing this since we moved in. See this basket thing? I don't know how it happens, if it's the house or what, but any dirty clothes you put in this basket, somehow the next day they're just clean, folded, and in a perfect pile on your bed. You're not serious. I couldn't believe it at first either, but it just keeps happening. That's why I didn't tell you. I didn't want to jinx it. You are insane. Try it, you'll see. Unless it's only chosen me. See, I don't know. I'll do this. No, wait. There's other things too. Plates, cutlery, pizza boxes, dirty tissues, anything you leave on this coffee table just vanishes overnight. I mean, sometimes I'll see how far I can push this thing and I'll just leave shit everywhere. And then sure enough, the next day, it's all gone. It's just vanished. It's magic. No, she wouldn't have left me. This is what I think happened. I heard her get up in the middle of the night to get a drink or something. She must have fallen onto the magic coffee table and just vanished. Are you insane? No, he's not insane. I've got the same coffee table at home.
All right. So, what did you think? Do any of you have magic baskets at home? No. Were you able to hear it okay? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we could hear it. There was no video. Was there supposed to be a video with it? That's the only thing.
There's no video. Oh, no.
No.
Oh. Yeah, that doesn't make much sense then. Okay. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go through it again. I'll send the link. It's pretty funny. But let me just summarize it. sorry, I couldn't see the chat while I was sharing the screen, but okay. At any rate, the video is about delegation and how hard it can be to delegate. And sometimes we might just swoop in and do something like load the dishwasher or fold the laundry, and not tell, we don't, necessarily tell someone, and then they just see that it magically happens all on its own. So the point here is that it behooves us to think carefully about what we are doing and what we can give to others instead. So the way that I think about that is, I call it the magical delegation question. And that magical question is, what am I uniquely qualified to do? And then that's what you do. And then delegate as much of the rest as possible. And the reason for this question, what am I uniquely qualified to do? If the tasks out there on your team and in your organization that only you can do absolutely must be done by you. And those are probably enough to fill your plate. For everything else that you are not uniquely qualified to do, that means somebody else is qualified to do it, right? And they should be the ones doing that, because for them, that can be a growth opportunity. That is a way for them to build their skills, deepen their expertise, and gain more experience. So there's an alternate version of this question, which is, what am I doing that someone at my level does not need to do, right? What am I doing that someone at another level other than mine is capable of doing, right? It's another way to get around this idea of what am I uniquely qualified to do. So what I would ask you to do is to interview yourself, right? Consider these questions, and then again, either share them out loud or write them in the chat. What is it that you could be doing more of that you are uniquely qualified to do, right? I'm sure there are tasks and responsibilities on your team that only you are uniquely qualified to do. What of those could you do more of? Then the alternate question, what am I doing that someone at my level does not need to do? Yes, you might be capable of it, but that does not mean that you need to do it. In fact, it's taking away, potentially, a growth opportunity from someone at a level lower than yours, or to the side, right? Peers. And then the third question, getting to this point around collaboration and trust, right? Because this is how we break down isolation and silos, is we delegate more. How would delegating more increase collaboration and trust on my team? When you delegate, how does that impact the level of collaboration and trust on your team? Again, take a minute to consider these questions and then either drop your answers in the chat or just start speaking.
So Kelly, it's Jane again, and I think these are fantastic questions and something that every leader should give consideration to and think about every single day. My question to everyone is, in today's work environment and economic environment, with companies forced to cut jobs because of economic factors to remain profitable, is it realistic to think that you can really delegate more when people that you would be delegating to are possibly being cut
Yeah.
and you're being asked to do more with less? And my second question, and I'm not sure what I'm really thinking here, but where does mentoring come into this? Where do you find in all that you have to do, where do you find the time to mentor the people who need to be trained and helped along the way so they can take some of the workload off of you and learn as they go along in a meaningful way?
Yeah, two great questions. So the answer to the first one is absolutely yes. It is much harder to do now when we are downsizing, some of us. I would argue, though, this is one filter that you, the organization, can use to determine, are we doing truly only the most essential things, right? Is there anywhere where we can trim where we spend our money, where we spend our energy, where we spend our time? And this will really, if every person on the team were to think this way, then you could become quite lean. And yes, it will still be hard, right? And then as far as fitting in mentoring, I think of it as, crescendos and decrescendos in music, right? So that's how I think of passing some of these responsibilities on to someone else, where it's not maybe a sharp delegation where you just dump the responsibilities on their desk, but you decrescendo how often you do it a little bit less, while at the same time they crescendo do more of the thing. So that by the time they are at their loudest, right, at their strongest, you have diminuendoed to the end, and you are small and now silent.
Thank you.
Sure, good question. How about others?
There's one great comment in the chat that I'm seeing that Julie's sharing. A benefit of delegating is that team members feel more engaged and that their opinions matter and that they can really contribute. And that is a really positive result from delegation.
Oh, that's so true. I mean, like, think back to like early in any of your careers, right? Those early days, like the first time, the boss gave you something big, you're like, oh, all right. He, at least in my case, it was always a he, right, sees my value, right? They trust me to do this. Yes. Yes, great comment. All right. Anyone else? All right. Shall we jump to the third tool? All right. So the third tool is yes and. So this, we've got a real theater arts vibe going on today. This is not on purpose. But anyone play yes and in an improv class anywhere? Anyone come across that? I see Meg, who's shaking her head yes. Yeah, nice. All right, well then you'll recognize this. And Meg, I might call on you to go first, but I promise it won't be hard. So yes and is a practice that you can use with your teams to open up more creativity, more experimentation, which is always a wonderful way to lean into change. And the way that you do this, quite simply, is when your team is facing a challenge or a problem, you have a brainstorming session about it, and you follow the rules of yes and. Yes and is a method used in improv, usually comedy, where the actors build on what the first person said. So for instance, if you have an issue that you are trying to address, the first person might say, well, we could do X, right? And then the next person would say, yes, what I like about that idea is, it will help us in some way. And that makes me think of, and then they state their new idea. And whatever their new idea is, the next person says, yes, what I like about that idea is blank. And that makes me think of blank. And what this process does is it builds a conversation in which each person first says yes and acknowledges the previous person's idea and what they like about it, and then builds on their colleague's idea and comes up with their own new idea. And then the next person says, yes, what I like about that idea is, and then they build off, they say what they like about that idea, and then it makes me think of, this new idea. And so everyone in the room is building off of what the previous person said. They are scaffolding their comments on top of what the previous person said, what I like about that idea is, and then connecting their idea to that previous idea. In the end, everyone has had a chance to say their idea. They've all heard appreciation for their ideas, and they have built as a team collaboratively what that end goal is, right? What that solution might be. So that's quite simply what it is. And we're going to do a lightning round of this. All right. So I'm going to go first, and then I'm going to tap Meg, because I saw that she's done this. And then Meg, I want you to tap the next person, and so on and so on. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about what to do? All right. So I'm going to go first. I'm going to say, I'm going to present the problem, the issue. One issue women leaders face is seeing silos within their team. All right. One idea I have is we could draw a team map that shows how each person is connected or not connected to another person. Meg? You read what's here.
Yes, I really like that idea, Kelly, because roadmaps always help people visualize a way forwards. So I think that's awesome. And that makes me think of how do we come up with projects where people are working with multiple people are working on them that don't always get a chance to work together.
Great. Tap. Who are you going to tap?
Julie.
Julie, are you on mute? Can't see everybody at once.
I really like that idea, Meg, because it makes me think that when other people on the team have a chance to participate, that we get a lot of new ideas and interest, greater interest in the particular project.
Mm-hmm. And that makes me think of?
And that makes me think of Willow.
Oh, you have to say what your new idea is.
Oh, I'm sorry. And that makes me, I'm not a good student. And that makes me think of how we can knock down silos within our organization.
All right. Willow?
I
Okay,
like that
Willow.
idea that you just shared, Julie, because silos are an artificial set of barriers that often create create miniature cultures within organizations and a feeling of disconnectedness, which makes me think that it's a good idea to do some of the work like you do, Julie, in reaching out across platforms like LinkedIn and others to spread the word and be very generous with your ideas. I am calling on.
Oh, you muted just before you said the
Oh,
name.
calling on Elizabeth. Sorry about that.
Elizabeth, great. We'll do Elizabeth and then one more.
I really like that because of the importance of idea generation comes from lots of different sources. And the more you reimagine how you can collaborate with people, you can, really expand how people view or think about their investment or their stakeholder ness in something, whether they're on that typical assignment team or not, or if it's across divisions. Um, and that makes me think of the importance of including people that are not directly included always, or inviting people in to give feedback and advice, even if it's not quote unquote their area, but to ask for a fresh perspective. And that makes me think of, how you can create strategies to, um, whether you find within organizations internal individuals to cultivate and to get them on your team in the sense of feel they're mentoring or they're helping, but it's also helping to further other goals you may have.
Great. Thank you. We will actually bring it to a close there, just for the interest of time. So this is a game that you can take to your team. And initially you might do it just like this, right? Tell them about yes and, give them this structure to speak in. And then you might find that after you've done this a few times, that they just start naturally speaking this way, being supportive of one another and building off of one another. So that's how you can increase the connection and openness to change within the team. So there are the 3 tools for today. What I would invite you to do is think about which tool would be most helpful to you. Right? Which one really spoke to you of, yes, this is the thing that my team needs now. And then how would you modify it, right? I've given you the standard version of all of these, but I am sure that each one of these would need to be modified in some way to fit your particular needs and culture. So please do that. And then consider when would you use this? What is the next team meeting? What is the next project deadline where it would be really helpful to have this tool in place? So we won't share commitments because I want to give Meg a few minutes at the end to give a few announcements here. But I would encourage you to think about these 3 questions so that you take something specific and tangible away from today. So I would love to stay in touch. There are 2 ways to stay in touch. You can drop your name and email in a private chat to me now to sign up for OCC Views, Open Circle Coaching Views. It's a brief, monthly-ish, depending on how busy I am, article on leadership that I write. Or you can schedule a discovery call with me, which is just an informal 1-hour chat where we pinpoint what your key challenges are and explore where you want to ideally be. So you can use this QR code to schedule a time now. I'll also share it with Diane so you could reach out to her. Well, she'll share it out with you all. So I would love to hear from each of you. I am committed to supporting leaders who want to bring about change in their communities. And I've loved spending this time with you. Thank you for being so open and energetic and ready and willing to try new things. Thank you.
Kelly, thank you so much for sharing your research and these insights. It's always helpful, particularly in these incredibly challenging moments. So we are so grateful for your time and for your knowledge and your thoughts. So thank you for that. And Willow, thank you for introducing us to Kelly, because we're always so excited to meet other amazing women doing amazing things. So this community just it's always a joy to add new energy to the group. So thank you, Willow, for that introduction. And Kelly, you sort of set us up perfectly because we always end every session with the call to action. So it was so beautifully set up for this group, to think about the three big things that you talked about in a time of much change and kind of chaos and need for resilience, and this notion of whether your team's on the stage or you are on the stage or on the balcony, and when do you choose those moments, the whole notion around delegation, which was terrific and great questions. And I love the exercise of yes and. So thank you for reminding us all of like such an easy, simple tool that we could all be using. And your call to action was do it. So think about any of these things that we talked about today. So I would just challenge this group to think about how you could immediately incorporate one or two of these things in what you're doing every day as a leader, and share back with us how that goes in terms of the change it might create in the dynamics of your team. So, and what it might change for you as a leader as well. So, that would be our big call to action, I think, for today. And then the only other things I wanted to bring up is, I wanted to remind you all, to not only enjoy your summer, the rest of it that remains, because can you even believe that's the 31st of July? I don't know about you, but I don't even know where the summer went. And I wanted to let you know that we have set the date for the How Forum for Quorum this fall, and that's going to be on. We're hoping to get together the night before for dinner or cocktails or something on the 23rd of October. And the forum is all day on the 24th of October. Diane, I got that right? Yeah. And so please mark your calendars related to that, because we would love to see you all. We're gonna shake things up a little bit for that session, and we'd love to have you all participate with us as we kind of review where we're at in the world today for women leaders and how we move forward in these increasingly difficult times. So anyway, I think we could all use a little moment together, frankly. Kelly, thank you again. Thank you. Willow, thank you as well. And thanks to everybody. It was great to see everybody's faces on the call, and look forward to hopefully seeing you all in the fall. All right. Be well, everybody. Take care.
Thank you all. Take care.